Are you afraid of making a mistake? Like in your life, in your work, just making a mistake, period. Of course you are. We all are. But here's a thing to think about. This is the perfect example of how we can use non duality to awaken ourselves. Now, many spiritual teachings you'll see, be a meditation about how, oh, you aren't a mistake, and blah, 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 blah. Non duality is way better than that. It's like, I'm going to simply talk you out of it. I'm going to show you that that is a false thing. It doesn't exist. Once you see it as false, it can go away. Now, it's not that you will never make a mistake again, and it's not that you'll still not have that fear about making a mistake, but that fear won't grip you. It will just be like a river flowing through your consciousness all the time. So, this fear of making a mistake is not a natural human reaction to life. This is something that has been taught to us in our particular culture. It's been taught to us very effectively. The number one thing that has taught us this is school. School is just all about showing you all the mistakes that you make, like the tests, right? Who knows the answer? Oh, I know. Everything about school is to teach you that you're wrong and that you need to be afraid of making mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, you get an A, and then you're a good student. You get to go to college. You get to make lots of money. If you do make mistakes, F, D minus. So start seeing how this has just been pounded into us. This idea that making mistakes is bad. And even before we went to school, like when we were naughty little children, which I hope we all were, right? I was. Every time we're naughty little children, we get punished. I mean, holy cow. We have this guy that wears this red suit, and he comes every year and gives presents to the good little children, but not to the naughty children, right? Don't make a mistake. I mean, everything about our society just pounding this in us, pounding, pounding, pounding. Valentine's Day. Like, if you're not perfect enough and you don't have a relationship, here's a whole day where you can sit around and feel sad about that. Or if you do have a relationship, you better not make a mistake on that day, or you'll be in really bad trouble, right? Mistakes, mistakes, mistakes. Okay, so we can see that this has been totally pounded into us. What we need to see next is that this is not a natural human thing to be worried about mistakes. Now, many people will think, well, back in the days when we were cavemen, it was incredibly important to never make any mistakes, because if you make a mistake, a lion will eat you. And so it'd be really easy for some professor to write a whole book, even, to tell us about how this fear of making mistakes is a natural fear. But that's just because they don't understand, first of all, that everything is unity, and second of all, that that is just simply not how human beings could have lived. And third of all, they've just never listened to any Native American or Aboriginal or Native wisdom keepers tell us what it's like to live in a natural society. You have to be afraid of making mistakes, or else a lion's going to eat you if you make a mistake. If you make a mistake, You're not going to be able to find food. Like, what if you're out hunting and you make a mistake and you like miss the deer and then you don't get food and then you know, fear, 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 fear. We take our story that we want to believe this painful thing. And we take this story and we even turn it into our deep history. But literally, it could not have been true because human beings did not evolve to live by ourselves. So now, let's relax ourselves out of that whole mistake thing and let's start to actually picture what being a natural person living in a natural state would have been like. You would not have been by yourself. There would be really lots of people around always helping you. Any sort of mistake would be a very, very small deal. You wouldn't be criticized for it. I think natural people would have had really great senses of humor. And, you know, silly little mistakes would simply just be laughed at. It's like, oh my gosh, you broke that arrowhead when you were making it. Oh! You know, not cruel laughter, but fun, jabbing laughter. One thing I read in Sand Talk, it's written by an Aboriginal man, and he was talking about archaeologists and how they find bones and they, you know, examine the bones for, you know, clues about what humans used to be. He said, you got to understand that every bone that archaeologists are finding from someone who somehow had been separated from the tribe, because if they had been part of the tribe, they would have been taken care of both in life and in death. So these bones wouldn't necessarily have been findable, right? But so now take that kind of idea and put yourself in this situation where you are so surrounded with the wisdom of your tribe that a mistake literally wouldn't matter. So why would you be afraid of making a mistake if it doesn't matter? Go think of all the little tiny things that happen all day long. You know, you're walking, you know, down the street, you turn left, or, you know, oh gosh, I should have gone the other way. You just turn around and you go the other way. It's like simple, simple, simple. So many things. There would have just never been situations where a person would have had to be like criticized for making a mistake. So now start to see that this fear is totally unfounded. It's been manufactured. So can you start feeling how that kind of starts releasing from you once you realize that it's not true? It can't possibly be true that our mistakes are so important. They're unimportant. Can you feel the difference? What does this have to do with non-duality? Well, what we just did is we took a concept that we hold on to firmly and we dissolved it by just looking at it with reality. And once it's gone, it's gone. It's not that you're going to still feel, you know, oh, I made a mistake, just because that has so ingrained into you. But now, when it happens, it's not going to suck your attention so much. You're free of it. So what non-duality practices are about finding concept after concept after concept after concept that we have taken to be so true and to actually tell us who we are. Take those concepts and dissolve them in the truth of nothingness. I mean, we could go through, well, I'll probably continue to do that on the YouTube channel as I think of them, right? Just go through concept after concept after concept and just, show that this has been manufactured. Cool way to think about it is that it has not been manufactured by you or by me. It's been manufactured by the culture that we live in for, a couple thousand years it took for this really to build up to be a thing. Another thing to think about native cultures is that human beings are a very interesting creature because we're so social. We started being social and taking care of each other. Otherwise than that, the babies with bigger brains could have never survived without, a number of people to take care of them, because bringing in food and everybody having to hold the baby and take care of the baby and all the things that it takes, human beings also evolved to start living longer. We live beyond our reproductive years. Evolutionarily, that kind of doesn't make any sense. But when you see the broad picture, you can see it's because wisdom is important for human beings. And so comes back to making mistakes. Now put yourself you're in this, being held in this group. You're like so part of it, you never even think of being separate. You're literally not separate from the human beings around you. Some of them are younger than you. Some of them are older than you. The wisdom keepers, the older people, are the ones who are holding you in their care so that your mistakes are not going to end up getting you eaten by a lion. You're not going to just be thrown out there, well, go out in the jungle and see if you get eaten by a lion or not. That's not going to happen. I mean, yeah, bad things happen to people and blah, 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 but not with this cultural, habitual fear that we have about just making a mistake at all. Another thing to look back, to go back around, come back to our society, we have huge businesses, especially these days with the internet, all created about teaching you how to not make a mistake, how to do everything perfectly. Like if you run a business perfectly, you'll make lots of money. You can buy a book, How to Be a Really Perfect Woman So You Attract a Man. You can buy a book, How to Be a Really Perfect Man and Never Make Any Mistakes So You Attract a Woman, right? I mean, there is just huge industries based around trying to relieve us of this fear that we have about making mistakes. So first of all, the society creates it. Second of all sorts of people come up with ideas of how we can work on this fear to make us feel a little bit better about it. Non-duality says just see it as false. That is just a false thing. So this is just kind of one way we can use non-duality to work through these false concepts, what they call the veil, the crust that is over us, and reveal the actual human being that is you living your life.